The truth is out there.
It is one of the world's greatest mysteries, Scotland's legendary Loch Ness Monster. So does the lake creature actually exist? Well, if you ask one man, he'll tell you it is in fact no myth.
Every day it's flaunted in front of your face.
Hundreds of people in the valley say they are hearing voices in their heads.
You just choose to ignore it.
Belief can be a powerful force. No one knows that better than the people who are sure they've seen Bigfoot.
Real accounts.
He says he knows who's playing mind games.
Rogue government officials that are sponsoring this, also corrupt business officials, and private citizens.
From real people.
Hundreds of people turned out tonight for the unveiling of a very controversial statue.
Yeah, it really is. The Satanic Temple of Detroit revealed the 1-ton bronze statue.
It's time for you to take a swim.
I'm just excited to see my Lord and Savior Baphomet represented in such glorious Italian stone. I do hope his eyes gaze upon me, and that my allegiance is recognized.
In the dark waters.
The Dark Waters channel is for entertainment purposes only. Although information in these stories can be traced back to relevant and true sources, Dark Waters strongly discourages its viewers, listeners, and subscribers from visiting the site of incidents and encounters discussed or revealed on the show. In other words, we will not be held responsible if you are attacked by a Dogman, molested by a Bigfoot, bitten by vampires, chased by chupacabras, abducted by aliens, accosted by the Men in Black, investigated or arrested by the local law enforcement, CIA, FBI, NSA, EPA, BLM, or another alphabet group, whether on U.S. soil or abroad. Thank you for tuning in, and enjoy the show.
I'll start by saying there are consequences to playing with Ouija boards. Now, I've been into the dark arts my whole life. I first started reading books at age 12, and by the time I was 22, I had experienced all kinds of stuff, but nothing extremely negative until recently. I was working with a Ouija board and interacting with this entity that called itself Suki. Over time, I would learn that Suki was not exactly what she claimed to be, that in fact Suki was a demonic entity. One time I was sleeping, right? I opened my eyes and saw someone standing over me. Thinking it was someone in my room, I tried to punch it, but my fist went straight through it and my body landed on the floor. I could feel the dark energy surrounding me and it creeped me out. The next day I was home, in the kitchen washing dishes, and I had this terrible feeling. I felt like something was right behind me with bad intentions. When I turned around, there was a knife on the counter that had just dried off and put in a drawer. That very same night, my boyfriend came over to watch a movie. He went to the bathroom and he was gone for a while, but I was watching a movie. And you know how you suddenly realize that something is not right? I stood up and rushed to the bathroom door. When I opened it, he was standing there looking into the mirror, this blank look on his face. Then he started mumbling these strange words. Avatar, Madata. He was completely in another world. I screamed at him, waved my hand in front of his face, and even jumped up and down. But he would not snap out of this trance. Finally, I doused him with ice cold water and he came to. He started fussing at me, asking me why did I do that? He thought he was just standing there washing his hands. He didn't realize that he had been in a trance for over 20 minutes. That night I realized playing with that Ouija board was a mistake, and that me communicating with this demonic entity was an even bigger mistake. So I cleansed the board, cleansed my house, and then I destroyed the board. And thankfully I haven't had any more problems at all. About 8 years ago, I used to own an occult bookshop, and if you were standing behind a checkout counter, it faced the front door. It was around noon, and there were a few customers checking out. My employee Stephanie and I were helping customers when I noticed a man in a light sweater walk into the store. He looked normal, but he was looking down at the ground when he walked in the door. After he entered, he walked a few steps towards the bookshelves, and he lifted his head up a bit, and I caught a glimpse of the side of his face. Then he turned his head and looked directly at me like he knew I was watching. His eyes were black as midnight. Man, I was shocked, and I just stared at him. My body felt like I was hit with some kind of bolt of electricity and my knees weakened. Stephanie noticed my condition and literally grabbed me before I fell to the floor. As I gathered my composure, I told her I was okay. I figured that my blood sugar had dropped and I needed to get something to munch on. So I turned my back and walked to the small table behind the counter. That's when I heard Stephanie saying, "Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir." When I turned around, this black-eyed man was standing behind the counter, only a few feet away from me, stared directly at me, not saying a word. I was so frightened that I ran towards the steps and up into my office, hoping he'd not follow me. That's when I heard Stephanie tell him, "Look, I'm about to call the police if you don't leave." I stayed in the office for a few minutes, and that's when Stephanie came walking up the steps, and I asked her, "Hey, did he leave?" And she said he was gone. After that, I told her to close the store for the rest of the day. It was a terrible experience, and I literally feared for my life. I haven't seen any other black-eyed people since then, but I was so affected by that encounter that I decided to sell my business right afterwards. People always ask me, "Well, why did you decide to do that?" But something told me I didn't need to be in the occult business anymore. I was born and raised in Cabrini Green Projects in Chicago in the late 80s. Everybody knows about the violence in Chirac. But one of the things about Cabrini Green in Chicago that people never talk about was the weird shit that happened there. My older brother was a GD, and Mom worked all the time. At age 13, I was always alone. I'm talking about 18 hours a day. I only saw my brother when he was hiding from someone or sleeping, and my mom was never home. She worked 2 jobs. Crazy stuff started to happen in our unit when I was alone. It started off small, like the TV turning on and off and the refrigerator door being open. I would just brush it off. But then it got worse. The cabinet doors would swing open and plates would fall on the floor. But it didn't stop there. My mom would go to the store and get groceries and leave them out for me to put up. And then she would head back to work. The minute she left, the stuff would crash to the kitchen floor. I tried to talk to her about it, but she didn't believe me. And neither did my brother Kwame. Till one night, he just so happened to be home when this red liquid started to appear on our bathroom floor. He went to the bathroom and saw this and was completely startled, started trying to wash it away. And when I walked in the room, he was freaking out. I just screamed at him, "I told you, boy. You didn't believe me." The following morning, when I went to take a shower, that same red liquid was dripping from the shower head. My brother Kwame started asking around and asking people about our unit. That's when he learned that there was a triple homicide in a unit that we were living in. A dope dealer, his baby mom, and his 9-month-old son got dealt with in the very same apartment we were living in. I wasn't able to convince my mother that something needed to be done, but Kwame was. He talked to my mom and had a preacher come out to the house. It took about 2 weeks for the preacher to finally get there, but when he finally came and prayed over us, everything stopped. I currently work for Pop a lot. Our services include roadside assistance, and we specialize in open and lock car doors. The job is cool for the most part. I help some old lady open her car doors, and occasionally I get the drama queen airhead type, who seems to get themselves in a situation where they lock their keys in the car in the barroom parking lot. One night I was on call, and the dispatcher sent me to an address in a very shady area of the city. This car was on 1st and Willow Street, completely fucked up neighborhood. So I decided to make an executive decision and drive as slowly as possible to the location. The drive should have taken about 15 minutes, and I made it there in around 45. Parking on the outskirts of the neighborhood, I contacted my dispatcher and asked him if the person still needed the services. And as you can guess, they had been waiting the entire time. Driving into this area was like driving into a scene of a movie. There were drug addicts on the streets and drug dealers on the corner. Then there was me, driving my white ass through one of the roughest areas of the city in a white and orange van with yellow flashing lights. I felt like, that's not even right. I knew something was going down that evening. Arriving at the home, I called from my cell phone and asked the person if they would come outside. An old lady answered the phone and she said she'll be out soon, but it would be safer if I came into the house until she was ready. I thought about it. Said to myself, that's not gonna happen. As I hung up the phone, I heard this tapping on my passenger side window. The sound was that of metal on glass, and I knew what it was before I looked in the direction. "Open the door, please." I was scared, I ain't gonna lie to you. This dude looked fucking crazy. He had those long, skinny dreadlocks and the gun. The gun was freaking huge. When I opened the door, he got in the car and put the gun on my head and softly said, "Listen, you can live or you can die. I personally don't give a fuck. However, it would behoove you to hand me your wallet, cell phone, and get the fuck out of the car." My mind was racing with what to do. Part of me was confused. He was so polite and so intelligent sounding. And the other part of me was terrified by this enormous handgun. I felt like my brain was breaking inside of my head. So I handed him everything he asked for. Got out of the van. He slid behind the wheel, rolled the window down. And again, he politely said, I appreciate your cooperation. There's no need for things to get any worse. Have a good night. Be safe in this neighborhood. There's some real bad people around here. I just stood there confused. What the fuck just happened to me? I'm standing on the sidewalk in this all-black neighborhood, and what really threw me for a loop was that he was so goddamn nice. Finally, my client brings her ass out of the house. She's this older black woman in her 60s, dressed like she's going to church. She said, I told you bring your silly ass in the house. Now they done stole your car. At least you alive, baby. She didn't let me in the house to use her cell phone and call the police. When they arrived and took the report, one of the officers laughed at me, and he said he was glad I was all right, but then he suggested I get a better job. Attention all members of the Dark Waters family. I'm proud to announce to you guys that the Dark Waters channel t-shirts are now for sale. Many of you have asked me before, hey Dark Waters, why don't you have a Patreon account, or why don't you do Super Chat? That's because I believe in earning my profits. I don't believe in taking any donations or taking any gifts. So if you really want to support me and the Dark Waters channel and the effort that I'm putting forward, the best way to do so is to buy the t-shirts and the products that will be rolling out over the next couple of months. I'm very excited about the products that are going to be hitting the market. Get your Dark Waters t-shirt today. While supplies last, it's only $25. That includes shipping and handling.